Hey, what is up? Mortals, welcome Season 2 Part 2 of What If Deku Got Black Whip Early. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat, and so we begin. I don't get it, I just don't understand it, your quirk is trash. It couldn't even rival mine in the least, but how come you've been able to keep yourself one step ahead of me? Bakugo said with his back to Midoriya. Kaken, Midoriya silently said. They had concluded the provisional license exams with Midoriya passing and getting his license while Bakugo did not. The students had returned to Hyde Alliance to rest up, but Bakugo had called Midoriya out for a chat of sorts. I could remember when we were younger and you were quirkless. You always fawned over my quirk, but right here in Ground Beta you bested my quirk and you went on from there to grow stronger and stronger with a simple support quirk. Bakugo continued in a low tone. You were quirkless, powerless. There wasn't any hope of you fighting me, less of winning, but here you are doing just that ... It makes me so damn pissed. So right here, right now I'm taking you on. I want to prove that I'm more superior to your trash quirk, Bakugo yelled, facing Midoriya and staring him in the eye intensely. Kaken, I understand how you're feeling, but we can't fight here. It's against the rules. We could do this in a training session, Midoriya said, apprehensive to the whole idea of fighting. Honestly, he didn't really understand what Bakugo was angry at, but this wasn't the way to solve it. Shut it, what do you understand? I'm the one who feels damn quirkless now, you bastard, Bakugo growled, his scowl deepening, and he stretched his arms out. Bakugo, please, we don't have to, Midoriya pleaded, but he stopped talking. A sharp pain throbbed his head. Danger sense. Slowly he'd become accustomed to the quirk's signals, and the pain from it was less intense than usual. It meant something bad was about to happen, and the quirk was always on the money with its predictions. Bakugo came blazing towards Midoriya, with a front thrust of his palm shoving an explosion towards Midoriya. Danger sense had already forewarned him, and Midoriya knew that it was a matter of seconds before what the quirk foretold happened. So when Bakugo's attack came, his reaction was preemptive. He swerved his head to the side away from Bakugo's palm, but the heat from the explosion singed Midoriya's shoulder. It's not a matter of what you want, you damn nerd. Either fight me with your all or get hurt, Bakugo yelled, lunging his knee into Midoriya's gut, sending the boy tumbling. Midoriya gripped his midsection, getting up on one knee. Just hold on, Bakugo, we can talk this out, Midoriya pleaded. His pleas fell to dead ears. Bakugo launched himself towards Midoriya once again. His palms red hot, Midoriya raised his left arm. A black tendril shot through the dark night into the air and gripped fastly to the top of the building Midoriya was backing. He zipped up from the ground just as Bakugo drove his two palms forward, unleashing a wave of explosion that tore through the lower level of the building. Midoriya was left dangling in the air, panting as he looked down to Bakugo. This was bad. He was far too underprepared for this battle. He didn't have any support gear on him. Why are you running, damn it, Deku? You don't know how I feel. I feel like I'm chasing your shadow, Bakugo said, frustrated. He blasted his way into the air, closing the distance between himself and Midoriya quickly. Midoriya could see tears in his eyes. He slowly came to understand what this was about. Bakugo felt exactly how Midoriya did before he got his power from All Might. Sharply, Midoriya struck out his leg and kicked Bakugo in the face before he came any closer. Izuku placed his legs on the wall of the building and kicked off. He released his tendril. Free falling, he spotted and wrapped another tendril around a rusty lamppost. Swinging round it skillfully, he landed on his feet. He had put some distance between himself and Bakugo, who was tending to his jaw and walking slowly. No, Bakugo, you're wrong. I do understand how you feel. I was always chasing your shadow too, always behind you, wanting to catch up to you. But you know, being behind isn't always a bad thing. It's what drove me to become better, to strive to be better than you, Midoriya said, taking a stance. He crouched his knees and crossed his hands over his chest. Black tendrils began to stream out from his palms while Izuku's expression darkened. If it's a fight you want, come get it, Izuku said, accepting Bakugo's battle invitation. Izuku could see Bakugo smile a bit before his rival wiped the years from his eyes. Midoriya understood that Bakugo needed this to clear his head, release all his pent-up frustration and confusion. Bakugo began to charge, dashing towards Izuku. Midoriya flicked his wrist, sending a tendril at Bakugo. Bakugo's guard was up as he smacked the tendril away with an explosion, sending it off its path, but the string merely altered its direction, wrapping round his neck. Midoriya tugged on the tendril, drawing Bakugo in, causing him to drop his guard. Izuku leapt, driving his right knee into Bakugo's chin, causing his head to snap backwards. Bakugo caught himself. He didn't let the kick disorient him. He grabbed Midoriya's knee with his hand, letting a mild explosion go off. But the impact made Midoriya go a 180 degrees in the air. Bakugo grabbed his shirt while he was in the air and slammed to the ground. Midoriya didn't let up as well. He got thrown down, but the moment he hit the ground, he wrapped Bakugo's leg with a tendril and yanked his arm, sending Bakugo to the ground too. Pain surged his back, but Izuku's adrenaline counteracted it. He got to his knee and aimed his two hands at Bakugo, wrapping him tightly with tendrils into a cocoon. Izuku sighed. It was over, or so he thought. Boom! The tarred ground crumbled as Bakugo shot off it with huge explosions. His hands were on the ground even though he was restrained, his explosions couldn't. He flew into the air. Midoriya was taken along, wriggling as he climbed high into the sky. He didn't know what Bakugo was planning, but it wouldn't end well for both of them. Bakugo sent another explosion out, ensuring they'd keep going higher till Bakugo stopped and began falling while Midoriya was still going up. He realized in horror, and danger sense told him too. The collision between two of them would be disastrous and then they'd fall to the ground. Izuku was certain Bakugo had lost it. Quickly, Izuku released Bakugo from his restraints. He leaned back in the air and got his legs up with his head facing down, planning to use Bakugo as a launch pad to send himself down and prevent a much worse collision. Bakugo set off small explosions, turning in the air and catching the soles of Midoriya's shoes in his hand before they dug into his back. Die! Bakugo screamed, letting a roaring explosion fly. The force kicked Bakugo up higher into the air and sent Midoriya blazing down to earth. Midoriya descended fast. He was in serious trouble. If he collided with the ground, there was no telling what would happen. Subconsciously, he seemed to draw power from within. Izuku was summoning on strength he'd never used before. Lines of energy began to run through his body. He channeled it, let it flow through him. He'd been used to limiting his power using Black Whip, and as this power came, it was limited to 10%. Izuku clenched his fist as green sparks flew from his body and his eyes lit up luminescent. Detroit Smash! He yelled and threw his fist just as he collided with the ground. A huge shockwave erupted with smoke hindering Bakugo's sight. What was that? Bakugo wondered about, keeping himself in the air with explosions, trying to get a clear view of what happened to Deku. He didn't have time to think twice. Midoriya came bursting out from within the smokescreen, quicker than he'd ever been, startling Bakugo, his eyes glowing neon green. He drove his fist deep into Bakugo's gut, knocking the air out of him. Adeptly, he flicked the same wrist still in Bakugo's stomach, tendrils coiling themselves round the crimson-eyed boy's torso. Then Midoriya threw him down to earth. Bakugo cushioned his fall with medium-scale explosions as he got to his feet, watching Midoriya land unhurt. So you were still hiding your power from me? I'll kill you, Deku, if that's what it takes to get you to fight me serious. Bakugo screamed, angrier than Midoriya had ever seen him. The explosions at his palms cackled with deadly intent all over. Danger sense went haywire, drumming on his skull signs of bad intentions. He only had a second to react. Bakugo cupped his right fist in his open left palm and fired off a compressed balls of explosions at him. Midoriya knew the AP shot's piercing power. It had punched a hole in a rock, and it would have done same to him had he not rolled out of the way. Bakugo, that was dangerous. You could have. Midoriya paused. He looked into Bakugo's eyes. His once-upon-a-time friend was consumed purely by rage, void of any capacity to reason. Midoriya knew he had to finish this, or getting hurt was the least of their problem. He managed to leap away from another flurry of explosions sent his way, putting distance between him and Bakugo. He could hear sharp footsteps. People were coming their way. What he'd normally do was to stall so Aizawa or another teacher would put an end to this. But he knew he had to give closure for both him and Bakugo. He would end it with his next move. Midoriya had already begun to fatigue from using 3 quirks at once. I'm going to do what you want, Kaken. I'll finish this with as much strength as I can muster, Midoriya said, dead serious. I wouldn't have it any other way, Bakugo growled. Midoriya surged one for all through him, cranking up his usage to 40%. His muscles, bone, and body burned with pain. He ignored it. This was the final act. He planned to give his all. Black tendrils poured from his hands, waving wildly in the air. Midoriya took a crouched stance, ready. Bakugo leapt in the air, explosions blowing from his arms one after the other as he began to spin, rapidly turning into a human torpedo as he launched himself at Midoriya, tearing through the air at blinding speeds. Midoriya was ready and alert. He leapt high in the air with a backflip, letting Bakugo blaze by him. Midoriya shot his tendrils while he was upside down, Bakugo in view. The black whips aimed specifically at the outward region of the torpedo grabbed and restrained Bakugo's arms at elbows, stopping his movement. This ends now, Midoriya declared, landing back in his position. With his arms above his head, he used his Herculean strength to slingshot Bakugo back to himself. Midoriya twisted his upper torso with a poised punch, reducing his usage to 15%. Smash! His fist collided with Bakugo's back, driving the spiky blonde into the ground, creating a crater with Bakugo's body at the center. I did it. I finally beat you, Kaken, Midoriya said with wobbly feet and blurred vision, but a smile plastered across his face. The toll of using 3 quirks evidently wearing him out. From a distance, he could make out the figures of All Might and Aizawa rushing towards them just before he passed out, falling on an equally passed out Bakugo. He was certainly in big trouble, but he knew what he and Kaken gained from this fight was worth it. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. Hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We The Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. I'd like to let you all know on behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 and older to join our crew. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. All you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work that fulfills your interest. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.